What if I told you that you probably have something in common with nations that fought a two-front war and lost because of that? According to historical events, most nations that fought a two-front war weren't very successful in the end. And what if I told you that you're probably doing the same thing in Call of Duty Black Ops 6 or any other first-person shooter? Except that you're not only facing two fronts but multiple, and that this is the reason why you die way too many times. Think about it yourself. How many times have you died in a single match because too many enemies shot you from just too many different angles? And sadly, you most likely didn't even see all of them. It's time to change that once and for all. Let's give you a significantly better KD with easy basics. Looking at it from a strategical and tactical perspective, the most crucial thing to avoid casualties is to avoid urban combat scenarios. Why? Because an attack on urban position takes 5 to 7 times more soldiers than the defending force. Whereas an attack on, let's say, wooden areas takes only 3 times more soldiers. Simple as that, right? Yeah, of course. Go ahead and play COD without entering urban areas. That's not gonna happen, right? But what we can learn from the simple fact that urban combat leads to more casualties is the reason why it does that. Because this is due to the fact that you're facing so many dimensions, so many angles, so many windows and buildings, and so many potential enemy positions that are hidden in there. Combine that with the fast pace that Call of Duty has, and you will inevitably end up with a system overload. You can't even think which direction to look first, and you will dive into death head first. So what you want to do is to eliminate dimensions, or when it comes to Call of Duty is limit the directions you can get shot from. Simply stick to the outer areas, fight your own desire and the demand to go straight back into action. Work for your potential kill streak and a higher KD. It pays off, trust me. In addition to this, there's some quality of life settings and loadouts that will help you in that perspective, which I will get to in a bit. But first, let's come back to eliminating threats by picking your right route. As you might know, most of the maps have a classic 3-lane design, 2 outer lanes and 1 middle lane. If you play especially objective-based game modes, or if you died in a hot zone, or even both, try to remember which way you wanted to come back there. Was it the quickest and assumingly easiest route, pushing through the middle of the map with 1,489 angles you had to check so that when you arrived at your target you were totally exhausted by checking corners and got killed again? If you weren't obliterated by 25 enemies on your way to get back to the objective first. We all find ourselves in these situations because we just turned our head off or we were just over-challenged. So to drastically lower your death count, challenge yourself and never ever use the middle lane. Because you can get shot from both left and right lane and all the different angles these lanes provide regarding the middle lane. It's that simple. And by that you eliminate a whole potential hostile dimension. Off-limit areas are your allies. No one will challenge you from outside the map. Try it yourself for just one match and you will notice really fast that it is so much easier to prove yourself in firefights. Because there's just not too much going on for your brain. It will not be as exhausting anymore and you can keep up your focus for a longer period and feel way more comfortable in-game. Plus, you teach yourself to disengage from combat situations if the route is blocked by too many enemy forces, because there's not too many other opportunities to go to. And you don't create new flanks to your own position by trying to flank enemy forces yourself. You'll get a much better feeling for when it's time to disengage and engage again. In case of a dead end, there's always one route on the other side of the map you can get to. Pick your routes where you only face, for example, low-story buildings or less windows and rush past the other ones very quickly. Once you have mastered this, go on to the next part. Use cover on your routes correctly. What that means is, think ahead of your next steps and always figure out the next cover between you and an enemy that could appear in front of you. And keep that cover between yourself and that potential enemy. Most of the obstacles provide cover even if you're not close to them and give you at least a possibility to break a line of sight. Which is also crucial mid-gunfight. You can go prone or duck down while an enemy is shooting you and you will break that aim assist. Also, try to cross wide and open areas in slant routes facing the direction that is your biggest threat. Imagine you run a straight line while drunken. You try to run straight into the enemy's position, but that straight line becomes more of a diagonal line. With Omni movement, you even have an additional mechanic to run in any direction without taking off the center dot of your crosshairs from a potential enemy position. Anticipate that again and again and work your way from cover to cover, from potential threat to potential threat. This becomes even more important with the integration of Black Ops 6 into Warzone. Since Warzone has much bigger open areas, you always want to remember not to just run from left to right to cross open space. Run slant routes again, since movement from left to right or vice versa is much easier to recognize for the human eye than slant routes that kind of lead towards the enemy position. If you don't want to be seen and stay away from gunfights, use the terrain as your best chance to sneak into the last zone or enemy position. Remember this easy military basic for that. Run like water flows. It will never flow uphill. This way you will stay concealed. But if you want to fight and defend a position, choose height as your biggest advantage like always. Speaking of cover, don't forget your teammates. It can help to let your teammates check the next corner. Even if you're not in a party with them, hold your position for a bit and let them run past you so they will approach the next corner first. That way you know if you have to take a gunfight into consideration. If they get shot, you know, so play calm and patient. But be there to help them out, at least with tacticals and lethals, so you can do it right behind the next corner again. Trust me, it works. When it comes to my loadout, I like to run ARs with high accuracy, since they're more viable in this year's Call of Duty. The Black Ops 6 weapons cover a specific ability and can't do it all. You definitely want to have the correct weapon category equipped to your personal playstyle. If the outer lanes are more CQB scenarios, you also can let SMGs do the talking. Just make sure to pick the right category depending on the map and your preferred playstyle. Same for the perk system. You probably already know, but the Enforcer specialty gives you the most potential when it comes to surviving consecutive gunfights with almost no break in between. Equip the perk Greed Wildcard to give you an extra perk slot. This should be the first permanent unlock for you. I like to run Flak Vest on it, or Ninja or Ghost. Everything is viable and will help you in one way or the other. Feel free to experiment a little yourself. Also, get rid of any distractions like motion blur, tinnitus sound, a moving crosshair, or any other fancy action movie setting that you can find in your graphics settings. Turn them all off or on low and raise your focus drastically. And that's about it. Will you die? Yes. Will it work every single time? No. But it still helps a lot, and at the end of the day you will find yourself face less enemies and you'll flank their main position much easier to hopefully get more kills. At least it's better than rushing through the middle of the map without any cover and enemies' eyes all over you. But let me know if it helped you and your KD or not. I personally hope it helps to improve your gaming experience a lot. I'll see you in the next video. Oh, and don't forget to smash that like button 1 or 3 times and subscribe to stay informed. Go get 'em.